अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्ता नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य तोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थे सुभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, chapter 13, text number 24. We just read the instructions of Jad Bharat to King Rahugana, and then the king he spoke how fortunate he was that he was able to understand these instructions, and he said he became purified of all his ignorance and illogic. So now the Goswami who was describing this, he speaks the text. Itevam uttara matah savai brahmarshi sutah sindhupatayah atmasattatvam viganayatah paranubhavah param karunikatayo उपदिश्य रहुगणेन सकुरुणं अभिवंदित चरण आपूर्ण आर्णवेव निभृत कर्णोर्म्यास आशयो धरणिमिमां विचचार. So Sukadeva Goswami says that, O Parikshit, in this way that son of Brahmrishi Jad Bharat, when he has explained the knowledge about the self and the Supreme Lord to King Rahugana, the king of Sindhu, and after his instructions, Rahugana had worshipped his feet. Then he who was just like an ocean whose senses were completely peaceful and there was no agitation in his heart, he wandered over this earth. So Sukadeva Goswami explains that after this Bharat Maharaj, he was worshipped by Rahugana, Sakaranam, Abhivandita Charana. But just as there are rivers which enter into the ocean, and that does not change the level of it, it does not increase its size. So like that, what it means is that although the king was very respectful and praising and glorifying him, it didn't make any difference to him. Usually when somebody praises you, then you feel very happy, and when somebody criticizes you, then you feel disturbed, agitated. So we saw that when the king was speaking harshly to him, at that time also he remained balanced. And now when he is praising, now also he remained without any change in him. So man apmaniyas tulya, tulya mitrari pakshaya. Krishna speaks in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asked, what are the symptoms of a person who has become free from the gunas of Prakriti? So then Krishna says that he remains equal in man and apman, in insult and honor. And mitrari pakshayo, and he remains also equal to enemies and friends. Because there is nobody who is an enemy, nobody is a friend. So this is what we see from his behavior, that he is saying there is no change in his mind and his thinking, that now the king is falling at my feet and one will feel very happy that king has become his disciple. So you feel honored. So it is nothing like that. Apurna arna. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says that sarve kama pravashanti, that a person whom all the desires enter just like the rivers enter into the ocean. So shanti mapnoti kama kama. Such a person attains peace, not who is full of desires. So we have desires to get happiness, but desires are those which kill happiness. This is the paradox of this world, that every desire kills your happiness, and every desire we have for happiness. So more desires, more problems. Less desires, less problems. More desire, no problem. So he is like that. He had no desire. He had no desire that somebody should respect me, or somebody should worship me. So when we desire, then only the mind becomes changed. When we don't desire, then it doesn't matter. So therefore he says that Nibrita karma urmiyate, that Nibrita means peaceful, and karana means the senses, and urmi means the waves. So there are no waves in his mind, in his heart, because waves are created only by desires. Every desire is a disturbance to the mind. If you take out all your desires from your mind, mind is immediately peaceful. There is nothing to disturb it. So whenever you see your mind is disturbed, then you know that it is because of some desire. Usually we don't relate these two things. So this is the biggest paradox of this world, that we have desire so that we can be happy. But it's just the opposite, that desire is the enemy of happiness. So we saw that Bharata, he was a person who was completely desireless. He did not have desire for anything. Therefore he was completely peaceful. Nobody could disturb him. So it's of course not easy to be like him. He was in complete control. And therefore he says, Dharni Mimam Vichachara. He just wandered on the earth because he has nothing to achieve from anything. No friends, no enemies. He is completely carefree. So Sakarunam Rahunena. So why he gave the knowledge to Sindhupati, the king of Sindhu? He said out of his compassion. Not that he is giving knowledge because he will gain something from it. People also teach because they are paid for it. So it is Sakarun, only out of compassion, not to gain anything from the king. Not that he is a king, I give knowledge, then he will appreciate, then I will have everything I want. So this was just, so only such people can do welfare to others. People do welfare in the society, there are many people who do that. But the real welfare can be done by a person who is free from any demands or any desires. So God is like that. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Na mam karmani limpanti na me karma phale spriha. That I am not bound by the result of my karma. Why? Because I don't have any desire to achieve, desire to fulfill from the karma. Na vaptam avaptam. There is nothing which I have to achieve. There is nothing which is needed by me. And yet I am always working. So why does he work then? Because usually whenever somebody is doing something, that means it signifies that there is something missing in that person. The very fact that we do something signifies that there is something lacking in me. Because to fulfill my lack, my lacuna, my desire, I have to do something. So I act to fulfill my desire. Desire means something I want, and something I want means I am lacking something and I don't have it. So therefore that action signifies incompleteness. And God is always working, so he must be completely incomplete. More than anybody else. But at least we sleep and we relax and we go for recreation. So he says, no, he has nothing to achieve. So then why does he act? Only for others' welfare. So that's what he says, Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuga yuga. That I come to establish Dharma. And therefore he is teaching to Arjuna that he should perform action and not give them up. Tayastu karma sannyasat karma yoga vishishyate. Karma yoga is better than giving up karma or action. Because sharir yatra pi chatena prasiddhyayata karma. If you don't work, you cannot even live. You have to at least do something to maintain your body. So he says that even those who are perfected beings, they should work so that they set standard for others. So like that Rahugana, he got instructions from the sage, great realized person Bharata, out of his compassion. So paranubhava param karaniktaya upadeshya. And with great compassion he instructed his transcendental knowledge to him. Paranubhava, his experience of the absolute Atma Satatma. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, he is calling Parikshit here as Uttara Mata. What means whose mother was Uttara. Parikshit's mother's name was Uttara. So he taking that word, he is making the comment. It says Hanta Hanta Mahabhuri Bhaga eva Rahugano Yat Tadrik Brahma Tejasi Sibika Vahanad Aparadhyapi Tad Anugraha Amrita Vrishti Abhishikta Kritartha. He says, wonder, great wonder that this Rahugana is really fortunate. Not just fortunate, but very, very fortunate. Mahabhuri Bhaga. Why? But actually, he has committed a great offense against such a realized person as Bharata, that he engaged him in carrying his palanquin. But even after doing that, he got the grace in the form of shower of nectar of transcendental knowledge, as if he was bathed in this shower of knowledge, and thus he became perfect. So why is he calling him great fortunate? He says, I also committed offense, but I didn't get like that. So he says, Aham ati manda bhagyo vipragale sarparpan aparadhat tad aparadha kshama pana tad abhishapa vishadagdho na jane kim andhatamo yasha. So he says that I am very unfortunate, that I put a snake, dead snake, on the shoulder of that sage, Shamika Rishi. So I did not get mercy like this. Rahugana, he committed an offense to Bharata and he got his grace. So as we know the story of Parikshit, he also committed an offense to Samika Rishi. He was sitting and meditating, and Parikshit went to his ashram because he was very thirsty, and he asked for water, but the sage did not answer. So he thought that he is just trying to avoid him. So there was a dead snake lying there. He took that and put it on the shoulder of the sage and then left. So he says, I don't know in which hell I am going to go because of my offense. Because I am not forgiven. Abhishap vishadagdho na jane kimandatamo yashyami iti vishidantam rajanam ashvashayati iti. So when Sukadeva Goswami saw that the king was feeling like that, obviously the king did not speak, so Sukadeva Goswami sensed it, that the king was feeling morose after hearing this, so therefore he speaks this particular verse. Uttara Mataha Yasya iti bhorajan. It is for this reason that he is calling him as Uttara Mata. That, O king, your mother is Uttara. So what does it signify? Tvam Matur Garbhe Pravishya Brahm Mahamunin Brahmatejasa Sakashat Bhagavan Swameva Tvamra Raksha. He says that you are so fortunate that even when you were in the womb of your mother, Lord Krishna personally protected you from the Brahmastra. Because Dronacharya's son Ashwathama has released this weapon to kill Parikshit who was in the womb. And when Krishna was prayed by Uttara, he entered in the womb and protected the baby. So he says, you are already fortunate. Why are you being so sad by hearing that you did not get the grace? Bhagavan Swameva Tvamra Raksha. Not only somebody else, but personally, the Supreme Lord protected him. Swam Darshyamasa, and he showed himself to you. You were able to see him. Nobody sees God inside the womb. People take birth and they do all types of austerities, spiritual practice, then they may realize God. He was so fortunate that he was able to see Krishna inside the womb. There is no one else so fortunate. Punarapi sampratam brahma tejaso rakshitum māmaitāsya naradādi mahamuni prerya tvadantika maniye etasham apar kripamritena kvam avishicya bhagavatamritam madvara payam. And now he says again he is protecting you. He says first you got the Brahmastra and now you got the Brahmashap. You got the curse of a Brahman. So now also he has sent me. And he has inspired all the great sages because there are so many sages who are present when Parikshit sat down on the bank of river Ganges. And Sukadeva Goswami came. So he said he sent me and he is making you drink the nectar of Bhagavatam. No one has heard this before. So you are so fortunate. And all these great sages like Narada, Vyasa, Vasishtha, Chavan, Aruni, so they were all present. And they had all blessed him. So he says, who is more fortunate than me? Apar kripamritena. He says, the grace which you have is unfathomable. Bhagavatamritam madvara payan. And now God is making you drink the nectar of Bhagavatam through me. So Bhagavatam is compared to the ripe fruit of the Vedas, full of nectar, juice. Pibata Bhagavatam rasamalayam evaho rasikar hovi bhava. So drink this rasa of Bhagavatam. Saeva Prabhu Brahma Tejo api vyarthi chakare. He says the same Lord has completely nullified the power of the curse which is on you. Iti Rahuganath tasmad bhartacha mattascha etebhyo mahamunibhyascha tvadiyam saubhagyam atimahtam. He says therefore your fortune is superior than Rahugana. It's superior than Bharat himself, because even Bharat did not get such a grace. He had to take 3 births and still he did not see the Lord face to face. And you are even fortunate than me, Mattasya, because he was a Brahmagyani before. And also from all these great sages who are assembled here, because they are all following different paths. Vyanjamasa. So this is the suggested meaning from the word Uttaramata. So much meaning. This is called Vyanjana Vritti. This is how suggested meanings are given, that just from this one word he takes this much meaning. And this is why he is calling him Uttaramata. That you, O son of Uttara, remember your childhood, your birth. Tadapi kim visidasi iti bhava. Therefore, why are you feeling morose? Why are you feeling sad? Viganayataha tiraskurvato api paro anubhavo yasmat sasindhupati tasmai atmatattvam upadishya sakarunam sarodhanam nibrita shanta karnanam urmaya. So he said that although he was offended, now he is giving the meaning of the words, although Jad Bharat was offended by the king, he did not take that offense. He disregarded that offense. Otherwise, why would he give his grace? And then he spoke to Sindhupati, the transcendental knowledge, Sakarunam Sarodhanam, who was actually crying because he realized he has committed very big offense. So he understood his mistake. So everybody makes mistake, and they say that to err is human. And then they are saying that to err is human and to blame it on others is even more human. So this is what people do. They make mistakes and then they blame others for it. But superhuman is that to accept the mistake. That is superhuman. Only superhuman people do that. So the king, he accepted his mistake, and therefore he was very sad that he did such a thing, to engage such a great personality in carrying him, and then he was harshly speaking to him. So it was very painful to him. And Nibrita Shanta Karnana Murmayo Yasmu Sayasu Yasi. So Bharata's heart was so peaceful, and there was nothing which could disturb it, like a very peaceful lake, and there are no waves on it at all, like that his heart was clear. And you can see the bottom of the lake. So like that you could see his heart completely pure, clean. When there are waves, you cannot see the heart, because everything is muddy. So that's why people don't know what is inside them, because there is so much disturbance. If you want to know yourself, you have to make your mind peaceful first, then you will know what is inside. So then he says, Savir Patirapi Sujana Samavagata Param Atma Satatva Atmani Avidya Dhyaropitam Chadeha Matin Visasarja Evam hi nripa Bhagavad Ashrita Ashrita Anubhav. So that king also, he understood the meaning of Bharata, who is called here as Sujana, or good-hearted or gentle person. So he understood Samavagata Paramatma Satatva. He understood the transcendental knowledge. Atmavidya, Atmani Avidya Adhyaropitam Chandehatmati. And then he gave up this sense of identification with the material body, Dehatmati. So this is what everybody has, that we are completely identifying with our body. This is called Dehatma Buddhi or Dehatma Mati. And this is because of the ignorance of the self, because we do not know our true identity. So we identify with our material body, and that's what we consider as our identity. And then we get, that's the meaning of being in the forest. Then we are lost in the forest, because identifying with the body, and then you have the senses which are taking you here and there. And then you try to fulfill the demands of the senses and the mind. So he gave this up completely, Visasarja. Why? Because it can be given up only because it is something foreign to our real nature. If it is part of our nature, it is not possible to give it. But because the body is actually external to me, therefore I can become free from identification. So when we sleep, we all become disidentified with the gross body. Therefore we are not aware of it at all. But then as soon as we wake up, immediately we identify with it. So consciously we are always identifying. And when we are not conscious, then we are not identifying. Sujanat Srimad Bharatat Atmani Swasmini Avidya. So he heard this knowledge from Sujana, from Sri Bharata, and then the Avidya. So Avidya is Anaditaya. This ignorance is having no beginning. Again and again it is described that the ignorance has no beginning, and therefore it is not caused by any particular action of ours. Pravritta tattaya adhyaropita dehe atmamati. And because of this avidya, this ignorance which has no beginning, we have the attachment, identification in the body. And because it is beginningless, we have never been free from this feeling that I have a body. Because we have never been free from ignorance. So ignorance here is not just lack of knowledge, but also improper knowledge. So it has two parts. One is that I do not know myself, and second is that I know myself wrongly. So that is ignorance. Because if simply I know I do not know myself, then I will be just like a drunkard fellow, lost. Like you get lost in the forest, you don't know where you are, so then you also don't know where to go. But to get lost and then to think that this path which is actually going in the opposite direction, this is the path, that is our situation. And not only that we are ignorant of our own nature, our own and real identity, but we are understanding our identity as wrongly. And then on the basis of that identity we are functioning. Otherwise we will not function, because we cannot function without identity, without ego, you cannot do anything. So now we have superimposed the material ego onto our real ego, and this has no beginning. So this is called adhyarop, putting one thing on top of another. So Atma Mati Atma Buddhi Bhagavad Ashrito Bhartas Tad Ashrito Rahugana. So here it is said that the king evam hi nripa Bhagavad Ashrita Ashrita Anubhavanat. He took shelter of Bharata, and Bharata has taken shelter of God. So that's how he became linked up with God. Raja Vacha. So now the king Rahugana, he is asking to Bharat, Yo hava iha bahuvida mahabhagavata tvaya bhita parokshena vachasa jivaloka bhavadva sahyarya manishya kalpita vishyo nanjasa vyutpanna loka samadhigama atave eta tadeva etad duravgamam samvetanukalpena nirdishyatam. So he says that, O great person, great devotee of the Lord, highly knowledgeable, what you have spoken, this you have spoken indirectly, parokshena. So about describing the path, our life as a path in the forest. So he says this is, you have explained allegorically by your supreme intelligence, but this cannot be understood by common person who do not have very high intelligence, avit pannamati. So they will not be able to understand it. Therefore, to make it easily understandable, please try to explain the meaning of this whole. So this is one of the way to instruct, as I said yesterday also, paroksha, indirect. Parokshvada Rishe Paroksham Chananapari. So there is a lot of Parokshvada in the scriptures. Parokshvada means indirect instructions. Not telling directly to do this, do that, but telling a story. And then from story the moral is coming. So therefore he says that it will be nice if you can just explain the meaning of the story directly. So that people who are not very intelligent, they can understand. Aryasya ati vidusha eva manishika. So he says you are highly learned, highly intelligent. That is the meaning of the word Arya. Arya means learned person, spiritually advanced person. Uttam buddhya kalpita vishya. So you have, with your good intelligence, you have imagined a story and told me. Dasyu sthaniya indriya gomayu sthaniya patyadi, in which you have compared or given a metaphor of senses as the dacoits, robbers, and the wife, children, etc., they are compared to the wolves who are stealing the sheep. Duradhigamam dashtantikanam anuktatvat samvetena samuchitena anukalpena dashtantik vacha sabdena. So it is not easy to understand all this metaphor which you have made here, because you have not told, you are giving an example, but what are they exemplifying that you have not said? So you please, with proper meanings, also explain that what does this forest actually signify, so that we can understand clearly. Iti sarartha darshinyam harshinyam bhakti chetasam trayodasa panchamasya samhita samhita satam. So this is the end of 13th chapter. So in the 14th chapter, he again starts speaking and explaining the whole story. So he says, Sahavacha, he said, Yesha dehatma maninam satvadi gun vishesha vikalpit kushala akushala samavahara vinarmita vividha deha dehavali bhir yoga sanyogadi anadi samsara anubhavasya dvarabhutena षडीन्द्रिय वर्गेण तस्मिन् दुर्गाध्वन असुगमे अध्वनि आपतिता ईश्वरस्य भगवतो विष्णोर्वशवर्तिन्या मायया जीवलोकोऽयं यथा वणिक सार्थार्थपरः स्वदेह निष्पादित कर्मानुभव शमशानवत् अशिवतमायां संसारटव्यां गतो नाद्यापि विफल बहुप्रतियोगे तापोपशमनीं हरिगुरु चरणारविंद मधुकरण पदवीं अरुन्धे यस्यां हव एते षडीन्द्रिया नामान कर्मणां दस्येति. So very long sentence. So he says that this human being, Dehatma, who is considering the body as his very self, and then with this body he performs various types of activities. Sometimes activities are in Sattva-guna, sometimes in Raja-guna, sometimes in Tamo-guna. So when he is in Sattva-guna, he does pious activities, good welfare to others, meditation, spiritual practice, yoga, pranayama, right? So that is sattvic activities. Those are called kushala activities, pious deeds. When he is in rajas, then he does akusala activities, harming others, exploiting, cheating, making plans, how to engage in illegal activities. And then sometimes in tamas you sleep, lost, confused. So he says as an act of all these activities which he performs, then he creates various types of bodies. Because from this karma which you earn in one human lifetime, then you will get the result of that. It's like you are a good businessman, you make a lot of money and then you go and enjoy for 3 years. You make so much money, you don't work. Then you come back work again. So human body is like that. You create a lot of good or bad karma, which gives you high or low births, many births. You have to go. Become a plant, tree, a creeper, mosquito, honeybee, dog, cat, snake, rat. So one after another, then you again become human. So like that, Vivida Dehavali. It's a row of bodies after bodies already stacked up. You have to go through all of them. So you enter into one body, bring that body into life, then you are flying. So like that you create bodies because of your karma. So this body which we have is outcome of our past karma. Everybody is like that. So therefore he says that Vinirmita Vivida Dehavali. And then in these bodies there is a Viyog and Sanyog. You come in contact with one body, that is Sanyog, union, and at the time of death you give up the body, and there is disunion. And this is Anadi Sansara. This is also Anadi. There is no beginning for this. So like this we are going through the cycle of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. One after another, one after another, one after. Sometimes you have long life, sometimes short life. But in every life you feel as if you live 100 years. The ant may live few days or few months, but they also think it's like their 100 years. Human beings also have their 100 years, Brahma also 100 years. So decimal system started in the beginning. So everybody lives 100 years. Jiva mein sarda satam. The Vedas say that we desire to live 100 years. So this is the samsara. Dwar bhutena sadindriya vargena tasmin durga advana asugame advani apati. And then through this body we are having we have the senses, and the senses are the gateway to the world. Because whatever you know in the world outside is through the senses. So they are called dwara, gates. Sadindriya vargena tasmin durgadva vanasugam. So then we are on the path in the forest. Ishwarasya bhagavata vishnu vasvartani maya. And this is because of the maya which is under the control of the Ishvara, Lord Vishnu, Bhagavan. So Devi hiyasa gunmayi ma maya duratya mami vipatmanti maya matam. This maya is not independent, it belongs to Krishna, to God, functioning under control. So then we remain under the influence of maya. So yatha vanik sartho arth para swadehana spadit karmanu para. So just like a business person who is in the group of other businessmen and they are only after money. So like that we go in a group. Maybe because of your family members, your friends group, family group, whatever. Everybody is in some group, not at least Facebook. So nobody remains without a group. And then you move in this forest with this group. looking for money. And then with your body you again karma, more karma. And samshanavad asivtamayam sansaratam. So we have entered into the forest of this material world, which he compares it as to cremation ground. Because this world is a cremation ground, because every moment somebody is dying. Therefore in Sanskrit it is called Martyaloka, a planet of death. In the higher planets there is no death. The Devas, when you go to heaven, you don't die there. It is only here that there is death. You stay there, when your time is over, then you have to leave the place, you don't die. But on earth you have to die. So this is called the dying loka. And therefore it is compared to a shamshan, cremation ground. So, where they bury the bodies. So that's what this place is about. And therefore it is very inauspicious. Shamshan is considered as an inauspicious place. If you go to Shamshan in India, then you have to take shower and remove all your clothes. Then only you are considered as clean. So we are walking dead bodies in the cremation ground. So he says that even up till now, he has not come back from this forest. Na adyapi vifala bahu pratiyoga iha tattapopsamnim. So he has performed many activities which are fruitless, and there are many obstacles. So he feels a lot of trouble, a lot of pain. But he has not come out because he has not taken the shelter of Hari Guru Charanar Vindam Bhukara Anupada. Because he has not taken the shelter of the feet of Lord and his devotee, Guru, therefore he is wandered. So unless one surrenders to Krishna, to Guru, Mameviya Prapadyante Mayamitam Prantita, it is not possible to transcend or transgress or get out of this forest. Because by our own effort, we cannot know. If we are lost in the forest, we can never figure out which side is which city. So unless someone informs you who is in knowledge. So ete sadindriya namana karmanam dashyayate. So he says that these six senses, the five external senses in the mind, these are the six dacoits, robbers. Because they are robbing our valuable time. We are using our time only in the service of these robbers. That's what he has said in the previous chapter. Now verse by verse he is going to speak. So in the second verse he has said that Shad Naradeva Dasyava Yasyami me Shad Naradeva Dasyava Sartham Bulampanti Punaya Kambala. Says that on this path, O king, there are six dacoits which are robbing the group of businessmen, Sartha, and forcibly, and they have a bad leader who does not know where he is taking them. So we'll stop here. We'll read the rest tomorrow if there is any question on this.
Two short questions. That commentary when he speaks about Anadi Advitya, is that still verse 24?
Yes. Mm, 25.
question is, I've heard that if animals die of an unnatural death, then they have to repeat that specific form, life form, before they can progress to a higher life form. Is that true? And if so, then if an animal...
Actually, there is no death which is unnatural. What is called unnatural is
I mean, before that.
that every body has certain period in which it can last. So if you die naturally, means without any accident, live life, and then body deteriorates, that's what is called natural death.
Yeah.
Otherwise every death is natural.
Okay, so that's what I mean. If an animal, for example, gets killed or has
No, it is not necessary that they have to take birth again.
Not.
Because maybe it was destined like that. Die. Human beings also die. It doesn't mean that now they have to take again birth.
So if we have to kill an animal, it doesn't mean that therefore, because of that animal has to go again through the same.
Not necessary.
Is about desire. Because we get this body because of these desires. And then, seeing that the desire leading our life, we're just following. They desire, they have decided already. So, the thing is like, becoming without desire, what really means.
Means desiring to be devotee of God, that's what it means.
Yeah, because being without desire, I mean,
It's like Bharat, he's without desire, but he also has desire to be devotee, so he's wandering as a devotee. He doesn't want anything else.
there's one desire, there's something else.
You were saying earlier that this ability to renounce the desires and sense objects and all that it can be natural because it's not an inherent part of ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. So our swarupa is so natural that we have the power to do this, but most people think that they don't.
Yes. Because we are in ignorance.